Re- Hello, everyone. And I just wanted to introduce my good friend, Abijit. Ab-
Hello, how are
How are
you?
you?
I'm good. I'm good, Firozé. How are you? So nice to see you. You
Yeah,
charming as usual.
thanks.
And it's night time here. Otherwise, I was going to say you made my day, but and saying you made my night won't be very appropriate. So
That's so
yeah, but
sweet. Thank you.
thanks for showing up and
Absolutely.
letting me do this.
So today, we were going to have a conversation, coffee time, but I think we're both on water right now. So
Yeah,
that's
we're on
good.
water. Yeah, water works, man.
So, why don't you tell our good friends who are watching, like how we came to know each other?
Yeah, so we've been knowing each other for almost 5 years, 6 years, 7 years now.
Yes.
And what I remember was this chirpy, inquisitive woman who was, asking questions and adding things and, being funny and being she was a smart woman and everyone knew that Firoze is on the in the class, and this was back in I think 2017 or 2018, and we
Yeah.
were doing a class with Guruji Simon Chakoisky, and I really don't remember which class it was because we've done many classes
Oh,
together with
many. I know.
yeah. And so yeah, and there was this direct connect, and of course you have your your sun and my moon or something like that. That's lapped on each other. So there
Yeah,
was this connect bang
we have
on.
a past life. We've known each other in a previous life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you're in Florida, I'm in India, so haven't met, but it doesn't feel as if I haven't met you. It always feels as if well, she's a neighbor and I've walked
Yeah.
into her place a couple of times,
Yeah.
had coffee. It always feels like that. The distance doesn't feel.
Yeah. 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 And so I would say that I would call you a profound astrologer as well, because you have also shared a lot of different, how would we call it, different techniques, because astrology is so immense. And it's like, I think we will be learning till the day we take our last breath. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting. And there's so many different ways of looking at charts. I mean, we've also
absolutely.
studied Krishnamurti together with
Yes, we did that as
Andrew.
well.
Yeah, with
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Andrew Datta.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've done a lot. But today I wanted to just have a chit chat, what's going on. Like my focus is on, compatibility and synastry. So tell me, what you were saying, because you do readings as well for the
Yeah,
public.
compatibility is so from an Indian context, compatibility is a big time thing in Indian society because see, generally over here you have initially in good old days the parents used to decide where their children will marry because there's this caste system and there is this financial classes this that, so the parents always wanted that my boy should get a girl from such and such a family and vice versa, the girl should go to such and such a family. And so there was always this thing because the whole Vedic culture and astrology has been embedded in our system since thousands of years. So matching horoscopes and finding if they're compatibility, it's called matching horoscopes, and that's the terminology we use here. And compatibility, finding if these people are compatible together. I mean, will they have a good life? Will there be attraction as they grow older? And will they be having good babies? How is the wealth going to be? All that. So till date, I do have parents of young men and women. They call me and they send me data from of of alliances, marital alliances, and say, listen, why don't you check them, check if they're compatible, this and that. And in modern day, there are also people now with a lot of Western influence over years. Um, Women and men are independent now, and there are a lot of them who decide on their own.
So
They don't.
would you say there are less arranged marriages now than before? Because I mean, before, the two people who were going to get married,
There's,
they would match their
um,
chart, but they didn't know
yeah,
each other. Yeah.
love marriage, when yeah, during I think 60s, 70s, 1960s, 1970s, someone, if they had a love marriage, it was a big thing. But now it's very common. Now arranged marriages have gone down. Now people are, they find their partner on maybe one of the dating apps, or maybe at work, or there are these marriage apps which actually parents, which is also like kind of an arranged marriage. However, these days there are also these things that the parents have started telling their children that, listen, just let us know if you like someone, and then we'll look into the nitty-gritties, talking to the parents and getting things done and all that. However, even when the boy or a girl, they're choosing the partner themselves, they are still relying on astrology to find if he or she is compatible.
Yeah.
And there is this little gray area where, how do you ask, if you're going on date with someone, you've been there with them on 3 dates, and you think that it's getting interesting, and you would like to take it forward. It's very, how would you just say, okay, give me your birth details only if my astrologer says I'm going to date you further, or we take the next step,
Yeah.
and maybe get engaged or married. So yeah, but they do find, come to me, and I do get these kind of queries where they get these things done, the compatibility report done, and sometimes even when, so yeah, it's layered. I mean, sometimes even when they are compatible, and if one of them has a seventh house which is in trouble. Now, so before I go ahead, I would like to tell you that the seventh house in anyone's chart is the chart of marriage. That's the chart from where you would see partnerships.
Right.
Um, Not just marriage, but business partnerships, your public life, anything that is opposite you is the seventh house, and
Mm.
the spouse is, you and your spouse, you
Right.
opposite each other. So, so if the seventh house is there's the issues with that, then you, even if the compatibility is in place, you still kind of see if everything is okay. You check all the boxes. If the timing is right for marriage, maybe I would tell them. I've done this before. I've told couples, why don't you just don't take the step, don't get married this year. How about next year? Spend more time in your courtship, or maybe if you are living together, uh, maybe you spend one more year together and then probably get into marriage, because then you want that certain planetary period or transit which is affecting the seventh house to kind of pass on, and then when the time is lucrative enough, good enough, and then they can get married. So there are so many considerations, and it's really difficult as an astrologer to kind of at once, because a birth chart is like a very good movie, like a Shawshank Redemption. I mean, or what was the other one where Tom Hanks was crazy? I forgot, Forrest Gump. You know, every time you watch a movie, these kind of movies, you find something, some nice nuance, or something else that you, some extra thing, some extra dialogue that you like. Similarly, on every chart, every time an astrologer looks at it, you'll see something else happening. As you said a couple of minutes ago, that there are different ways of reading a chart. Similarly, an astrologer, so today, if you give me a chart, I will start reading it with the ascendant. Otherwise, I'll just go to the Mahadasha system and see, okay, what Mahadasha is going on, and maybe the Mahadasha lord of whatever planet the Mahadasha is going on. I'll rotate the chart to that and make that the ascendant. And sometimes I'll just look at the transits. Sometimes it's just some omen that comes, and I just look at something else happening, maybe the Varsha Phala,
Yeah.
which
So
is
tell
your
us, tell us what Mahadashas are and Varsha Fala.
okay. Mahadashas, so all of us are, we run a planetary period. So Mahadashas are, there is a Vimshottari system, there is a Mahadasha system where based on when you were born and moon was in what nakshatra. Now, nakshatra is also a concept. So I'll first explain in very brief what nakshatras are. Nakshatras are lunar mansions. So in a lunar cycle from a new moon to a new moon, moon goes through 27 nakshatras. So these are basically 27 parts of the total 360 degrees, and they are 13 degrees 20 minutes each. So that's pure mathematics. So moon goes through all of them, and these 27 nakshatras have certain names. And each nakshatra has a planet associated with it. For example, if moon is in Rohini, Rohini is associated with moon itself. If moon is in Kritika, a nakshatra, Kritika is associated with sun, and so on and so forth. So there's sun, moon, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, there's Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, all of them. So there are all these associations. And based on when you were born, what nakshatra moon was in, that associated planet becomes the first Mahadasha, and then there is a series. So right now, all of us, whoever is listening or will listen, anyone that you see, all of us are running some Mahadasha.
Yeah.
And it's not the same because we all born at different times. So maybe you are running Venus and
I'm
I'm running Mars.
oh
And men are from Venus. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Sorry.
that
Yeah. So that's
must
funny,
be it.
Huh. So yeah, so we all run different Mahadashas, and some Mahadashas are favorable, some aren't. That's again based on what that planet is doing on your chart, how it's placed, and so it's a little complicated.
Yeah,
I don't want to complicate it for people here because this
right.
is, I don't make it an astrology class. But yes, so there are a lot of considerations that you see, and based on that, you tell people if this Mahadasha or if this. So for every Mahadasha, there is Antardasha, which is a planetary period, and then there's sub period, and then there is another. Within that, there is a period which is called a Pratyanta Dasha, and so on and so forth. So there are like 5, 6 layers of this, and you see what planetary period they're doing, what is favorable, and all that. And so you told me about the Mahadasha, and you also told me about you said something else that I had to tell you about. So yeah, so that's basically the
Yeah.
Mahadashas. And
But we were talking about going back, you were talking about how you would advise someone, for example, live together for a month so that this period passes. So if they were running a Mahadasha, meaning a certain period of time that
yeah,
was not good, then you were waiting
yes,
for that to pass for a
yeah,
better one to come in. Because, of
exactly,
course, that contract of marriage kind of is a binder. So whenever, like, if you do it at a good time, it basically sheds better light
absolutely,
on your whole life. And if you do it at a bad time, that it creates challenges through, the period of your relationship. So that's
yeah,
really, really important.
yeah. A
And I have
simple,
to say, for
yeah,
some people, um, you can have a long committed relationship, but you don't necessarily need to marry because maybe making that contract might not be beneficial for you because of the
yeah,
placement of your Mars, for example.
yes, yes. So I'll tell you something very interesting point that you just made. There are so many couples where there is no compatibility, but
Mhm.
they've been married for 18 years, 20 years. They have beautiful children, and the family is happy. They are wealthy, and wealth, finances, health, everything's okay. And then when you ask them some questions with their permission, and when you dig into their marriage, it turns out that the husband is 6 months away on the ship, and the wife is at home taking care of children. And then when the husband comes back, wife, she has some roles to, she has her career to focus on. So then she starts focusing on her thing, takes up a course or something, and she's doing her thing. So the husband and wife are basically, they are in the marriage, they have children, but they are apart. So
Yeah.
it's not like a usual thing. 9 o'clock, you kiss your wife goodbye, and 5 o'clock, you kiss and say, "Hi, I'm home. Honey, I'm home." It doesn't work like that. They are away. There's distance. There's the physical touch is missing, and you
I
know,
think also it's really important to underline the fact that there are also cultural things that come to play. Like, for
absolutely,
example, looking at maybe a man and a woman from India is very different because there's certain cultural programming than, for
yes,
example, a Western man and a woman.
yeah,
And, so those things, yeah, are important. So I think in synastry, it's important to look at, to put the both charts together. But also, as you said, it's really important to look at each chart individually as well, because that shows, if the person is ready, do they have some childhood traumas that they need to, release or heal. We all have things like as human beings, we came here. This is
absolutely.
the school of evolving your spirits and soul. So, and some people are conscious about it, some people are not, so that makes it even more challenging. So there are many different factors that we have to take, as well as the fact that we're going to be reading the two charts together. Now, what I
Yeah,
wanted to also discuss um is also the social programming. Now I know that, like, India is so much more now. I mean, the young people in India are so much more now into the Western ways, as opposed to, because a lot of the younger generation don't even want to know about astrology, where that used to be like the bedrock of the culture, right? And
absolutely.
so, but it's such a fascinating science. It's such a fascinating science, and people don't realize the depth of it.
Yeah, I mean, so I used to, I still not used to, I still tell people, I think a good marker or what do you say, a good, if you just go through and Google the number of divorces that happen in the West versus the number of divorces in India, until say year 2000, and you'll understand why, because the number is very high in the West and it's very low here. Now again, there are again social reasons behind it. The women in the West, women are more empowered and they are financially independent, and in India we catching up. In fact, now we have more or less similar dynamics, with women, um, at least in the urban India, and we are a huge population. We have a huge urban population here because there are, I don't know, there are like 10, 12 cities that have more than um, 10 million people. What is 10? Yeah,
Billion,
10 million people.
billion, million or billion?
10 million,
Uh,
million. So,
cities.
so there must be 7 to 8 cities or 10 cities where there are more than 10 million people. Now, so the dynamics are changing. However, in India, the whole thing about matching horoscope, it's so common that even in movies, people making fun of each other and saying, like someone would, if someone's having a fight with the wife, or if they have a fight with someone, and they will just say, "Oh, my kundli doesn't match with them." They say in Hindi that मेरी कुंडली उससे नहीं मिलती है, which means I'm not compatible with them. So it's a very common terminology, it's a very common, everyone knows about this. And but yes, if you're picking your partner yourself, and if there is a lot of Venetian, lot of sexual energy, chemistry, that is, if that's involved, then partners, they think that that this is it, and I've found my partner just because the sex is good. And it's very difficult for them to understand that one day the fire will fizzle out. It won't be as sizzling as it is now.
It
And
depends. I
yeah,
I did a few weeks ago. I did Moon Mars connections, and through
ah,
Milano, we know that that's an everlasting. you know, passion
So
for one another.
sometimes it's everlasting.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's only the sexual chemistry, nothing else is working, and sometimes it's the there's a great solid soul connection and there is no sexual chemistry, but both the things work. So I mean, but having said that, there are so many rules, there are so many things to look at. But as an astrologer, it's my duty that at or for both the charts individually, I have to see if it's time for a relationship, if the other person is compatible, and if the seventh house is in harmony, if it's promising a happy marriage.
right.
See, again, what is a happy marriage? Well, it could be
Different for
subjective.
everyone.
Yeah,
That's
but
something that I wanted to bring up because, I mean, putting cultures aside, I have a few friends who've been married for 30 years. And, initially, I mean, I looked at they asked me to do a compatibility, and, it wasn't anything. But the fact was that each person, their focus was on their children. Some people, their focus is on their career. Some people, their focus is on wealth. You know what I mean? So it's different for everyone. And then there are some, and again, I have to say, it has to do with the evolution of the person. How much have they worked on it? What are they looking for? Is it like with balance in everything? And one other thing is that, there definitely, and I see this more and more, there are many, 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 many souls that have come here. And with some people, they have a karmic relationship. They've come together to do something, clear stuff, and then it's finished, gone. And then
well, that's right.
we have soulmates, people who've come back together. And that could happen with karmics too, that they've had a life together. I don't know who killed who, cheated on who, but they came back to balance that. Then you have the soulmates who've come together to help each other evolve. Then we have the twin flames that have come together. And twin flames are different from soulmates because those are like one soul that has been dissected in two. They come in two different bodies and they come in. And that is always a challenging relationship because they kind of come to trigger each other so that they can grow, so that they can heal and connect to their source connection. So
So,
again, we have different steps of relationships.
absolutely. So from what you said, for example, so I have learned this from my guru, and it's a technique basically, that if someone is towards the end of their Venus Mahadasha, for example, and they want to get married, I would always tell them, wait for a couple of years, let your Sun Mahadasha begin. Sun Mahadasha is a 6-year period, and it is often said that many astrologers believe, I believe that in your Sun Mahadasha, you meet your soulmates or your soul, people who are connected to your soul from your past life, your father, your mother, your brother, sister, wife, friends, your shopkeeper, next door, baker, whosoever. You meet those kind of people. And often you'll meet your soulmates, I mean, romantically. So I got married in my Sun Mahadasha. I didn't know it back then that this is how it works. And then when I learned this technique and I looked at my Mahadasha system, I was like, boom, she's my soulmate. And then I looked at my wife's chart. She is running her Sun Mahadasha now when
Wow.
we are already married for 18 years.
So let me,
I
so
so
does that also depend on where your sun is, like what house your sun is in?
No, it's just that Sun Mahadasha, if it comes at the time when you're getting married or you that age. So the funny thing is that my wife is running she just finished her Sun Mahadasha now. So I was telling her, listen, you're going to find your soulmate now. So you can maybe, if you think that guy is more interesting, you can leave me probably, I'll see if
Bravo,
it.
Abijit.
No, just kidding. So it's funny, but yeah, there are also these things. Plus, there are these things about so in the Indian way of compatibility, it's called Ashtakuta, where you there are 8 different categories and you mark them, and there is a score out of 36. So anything more than 17 or 18 is kind of considered okay, and then obviously uh, the more the score, the merrier.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. My wife and I, we happily married 18 years. Everything's okay. We do fight, but
No.
there is everything going on, but we are fond of each other, and the chemistry is good. We have a score of 26 points, right? I met a couple who also have a score of 26, and I said, listen, you guys must be happy, and because I was taking my case as the base that if I'm happy at 26, they should be happy at 26 points. And his wife was like, no, this guy is miserable and he's always yelling at me and this and that. And I said, what's happening? And then I went on the charts and I saw, again, this is now the whole nakshatra thing, the whole pada system where you have sounds. So the sound of ma, the lady's name starts with an M, which is the sound of ma, the phonetic of ma. And that sits in the man's chart in the eighth house of separation and death.
Wow.
So it's not working for them. And that brings me to one of Simon's lectures and classes where he took us to so many charts of celebrities where, like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston.
Right.
You see, there was in both these cases, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie, AJJA, and Brad Pitt had some sixth house or some 12th house going on with these kind of sounds. And I think both of them didn't work. I'm not sure of, I don't follow them a lot, but I think both these,
They separated both of them. Yeah.
yeah, so so that's just an example. I don't want to take anyone's names as and make it a case study. But what I'm trying to say is that that also counts. Maybe everything is working, but and you love your wife and everything's okay. You want to do the best for her, but her name sits in your eighth house. And when that happens, she's going to drain you out. You're in a meeting, your boss is, asking you to draw up a program for whatever and 5 years from now and all that. But you thinking, what am I going to tell my wife this evening if I get late?
So
Or
did
my
you
wife.
advise her to change her name?
I actually asked the husband to call her darling or baby or in India they say Janu or sweetie or some I don't know what. I said just call her with some other name or and in fact in many cultures in India there is this whole tradition of changing the name
Yeah.
after marriage and I know it's quite quite a bit of male chauvinism that only women are changing names. I don't know why that's the case, but that's because in India the system is that women come, the
Right.
woman comes to the man's house and they live together and so on and so forth. So, um, so yeah, I mean, there are a lot of women who have the names changed after marriage, and precisely the name is changed by astrologers to make sure that this whole 6, 8, 12, 6th house, 8th house,
Yeah.
12th house, which are the triksthanas, which are the negative houses, these kind of things don't come up.
So
So
sorry, go ahead. Sorry, didn't want to.
yeah, so there are these so many little things that um, that you could see and you could tell them. Sometimes I tell couples who are getting married, and when they come to me and I see the compatibility is okay, okay, and then I tell them, I say, hey, listen, are you guys planning to, once you get married and the honeymoon is over, and then is one of you planning to go somewhere and work somewhere else? And so they say, yeah, yeah, I'm planning to then take a sabbatical and go and work in the US or Europe or Africa somewhere and for 2 years, and I'll see how he or she could join me and all. So I tell them, listen, don't join. Ask them to join. It's okay. If in your life you come across such situations where you have to go and work somewhere for 6 months, 2 years, or you have to work during the day, she's working in the night, so vice versa, that's okay. Your marriage will keep on going, you will be fine because there is this little thing where you are not as compatible as otherwise.
Right,
Generally, a seventh house where, for example, Rahu sits in the seventh house. So that's not a great place for Rahu to sit.
right,
Now, for that, I would always say the most common thing to say is that there has to be something unusual about your marriage. Okay. Now, for example, Firoze, you from Iran. Okay. Now, if you come to me, if you as a 25-year-old woman comes to me and says, "Here's my boyfriend, Irani, same language, same everything, same. I want to get married," and I would say, please don't. There's
mhm,
nothing unusual about your marriage. Like, for example, if I have 7,000 Rahu, me marrying the same Indian woman with same language. Now, India we have different languages, so thank God you can marry an Indian with a different dialect or a language. If someone from South India speaks different, and North India speaks different, and West and East
yeah.
is different. But so that, for example, in US, I mean, a white guy and a white woman, there is nothing unusual about them. So there has to be something unusual. So
Would you say
someone who
usually it would be like different cultures or people from different countries when that happens?
yes, yes. So maybe someone who is Irani, that's what you call, right? Irani. Someone from Iran is
Iranian.
Iran.
Yeah, Iranian.
Iranian, sorry.
But in India, you call it Irani. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in India you call them Iran. We have surnames called Irani. So Iranian man who's in the US and you are in Iran, and then if there is this alliance and this whole thing happens, works.
Yeah,
Someone who is Hispanic and you are in Iran, Indian, there's anything works,
yeah.
or vice versa. So either that or uh, there is this thing about Rahu, wherever it sits, it amplifies that energy. So
Mm-hmm.
this woman has multiple partners,
Mm-hmm.
or at least has the opportunity to have multiple partners. The man has two wives. Now, in Islam, it's allowed, in some cultures, it's allowed. In a normal, I mean, in this day and age, you cannot have two wives. Come on, man. You can't. How will you survive, sustain, and I don't know what will you do because
Actually,
they will
that
fight.
yeah, actually that brings up a good point as far as what's going on socially. So I wanted to discuss a little bit. And again, even though I think
Yeah, the whole,
yeah,
the whole.
youngsters in India are like sort of more Western, but um, I wanted to also kind of talk about what like societal programming is about now. Because like now all these young people are like, let's hook up, and well, not just younger people, but different people is
Everyone.
kind of like hook up and threesomes and foursomes and fivesomes and I don't know
Yeah.
what. And and it's like it is a programming, as far as I'm concerned, that is really taking away humanity from that connection to God. And especially, I feel it's so dangerous for women. Now, how is it playing out in India? Is it like similar or?
Yeah, in the
'Cause the thing
urban,
is, if we talk about, on an energetic level, since the woman is the one that receives the energy from the man, she takes it, it really energetically affects her. And if she is sleeping with multiple people at the same time, it is really messing with her energy level.
in the current society, the current scenario, yes, I mean, and especially in the urban, and not just the urban, I think everywhere, this whole thing about having multiple sexual partners, is not something that is an alien idea. It's very much there in the society. I know many people who have come to me and said that, this, how do I get rid of this whole thing? Because this is what I like to do, and I practice this. There is also a big issue of people slipping out of their marriages and having sex, and spending nights and enjoying and one night stands and all that, men and women both. That is also on the rise in the society. You are absolutely right about the whole, the energy exchange, and it's the woman actually who should be more careful. And in fact, if you, I mean, I mean, it's funny. There's a joke that if a woman wants to get laid, it's very simple.
Yeah.
If a man wants to get laid, he has to work hard. And I think so naturally, a woman does have this filter where she really rejects. I mean, so I was attending a seminar a couple of months ago where a lot of speakers had come from the matchmaking industry. I'm sorry, not the matchmaking, the dating app industry.
Right, right.
And they had a lot of data, and they said there are more likes from men than women. Women only like where they are really sure that, okay, this guy is okay for me. But men, they just keep on liking women, because obviously the ratio of a woman approving is less, and a ratio of man approving is very high. They are like, the man wants to be with everyone on on that, and the woman chooses and picks. So yes, she does have this thing going on in her mind. She is also programmed that way, that she is not going to be okay with. There are exceptions, of course, but they are very few. That percentage is very small. But most of them, they do have this filter. And
Yeah.
you're right. Even after having this filter, um, just kind of trying to have, being dating others and having one night stands, the
But one of
energy
the
exchange
things,
is.
yeah, one of the things I notice is like, as I'm saying, it's like becoming a societal programming, and I see it more and more in the younger people. I mean, look at with Facebook and Instagram, you have all these women. So, and you have all these apps that changes, the way you look and,
Yeah,
all this stuff.
filters.
So what is happening is they're making the woman, the female, insecure that she's not good enough, or in order to attract, she has to have a bigger bust, or she has to have, this kind of cheekbone or this kind of waist. Or I mean, this whole
That's
situation
the case.
going with enlarging your bottoms or your buttocks. So it is like pushing them where they're becoming more and more insecure. It's not about who you are, it's not about your mental agility, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's all about outside. And I
Yeah.
really think that that was intentional to basically break away from that spiritual connection. Not even, we don't have to call it spiritual connection, but your connection to the universe, your connection to the creator. It's cutting it off. And one thing I'll share with you, which is personal, but I go as a woman to my special doctor every year just to check, the gynecologist. And one of the questions the nurse asked me, she was like, can you tell me how many partners you had? I said, well, why is that important? And she said, no, that's important. And I said, well, I mean, I don't understand. She said, well, we've actually come to a realization that women who have multiple partners in a very short period, they are actually, we've seen cervical cancer.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I haven't heard this before, but this is very
So
interesting.
I was always aware of the energetic thing, and then I thought about some people that I knew that had it, and I was also aware that their husband was sleeping around. So it's not just you, but if you sleep with a man who's been around many, many, you are susceptible to that. So, right?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Other
Apart
issues,
from
including
diseases, apart from diseases.
apart from the other STDs. Yes, you're right. Absolutely.
So it's
So yeah, I
crazy.
mean, yeah, if you again coming to the whole Yeah, but that's a different topic about women and their women area and cancer and all that. There's it's a
And that
different
kind
thing.
of connects, but that kind of connects to what
Absolutely.
agenda is, what they're pushing these younger women that, they're
Yeah.
not good enough. They have to
I
do
think
all.
this is all the this is I think this is all the it's a propaganda by this whole makeup industry because they want to sell more products. And I think I was watching a documentary. In India we never had fairness creams, and in when I was growing up there was this whole industry about people wanted to look fair because s- someone somewhere is looking fair, this country, and people are white and all that, and there was this huge thing, and now I think that has gone away. People
Mm.
are, but I mean, still people are, the they want to have fairer skin, and they think girl with a fairer skin is more beautiful and all that. Well, now it's kind of the correction is in place, and that's no longer the case. Thanks to
But that's been
education.
through history, though. If you look in, like in Japan, how the women used to paint their faces white, or
Yeah.
even I think in Iran, all tradition, like if the skin was lighter. So I think, in countries that have darker skin, it's like the fairer, but it's been
Comparison and
up
all.
until.
Yeah. But yeah, but this whole thing about Instagram that you said, yes, they're not realizing that they are by doing all this, they're also messing their Venus on their charts, the
Mm.
feminine energy that they have. See, the other thing that I want to talk about is that all of us have this balance of masculine and feminine energy in us. Okay. Now, a woman with more masculine energy, who is a project manager, who is screaming at her employees all day long. She's hitting the gym, doing hardcore exercises. Then, in a man's world, um, she's on top and she's really doing well, and she's the boss. And then, when all this happens, somewhere the goddess within her, she's that subsides, and the masculine side is that takes the forefront. And because of that, because of this imbalance, the marriage has an issue. Now, I'm not saying women should not work or should not be on top of the organization chart, or all that is okay. But I think it is very important for such women who are in this leadership role, or who are single mothers, who are the man and the woman of the
Right,
family, who have to do all duties that a man would do for her. These women should take out extra time, and they should make extra effort to keep that goddess alive.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
go for not sensual, I'm sorry, go for regular massages.
Take
Uh,
care
I,
of themselves. Yeah.
I meant aroma, massages, good baths and Turkish baths and those kind of things. Or go get a pedicure, or get pampered and all. It's very important for them to keep the woman or the goddess alive in them,
The balance. Yeah.
because otherwise, again, and on some charts I see, for example, if I see a chart where Leo rising, moon in moon in Taurus, or moon in one of the fixed signs, basically. For
Uh-huh.
example, moon in Jeshta nakshatra in Scorpio, and
Right.
Leo rising, or vice versa. This woman is a strong-headed woman, and if this woman, if she is in relationship with a strong-headed man, they are, because the man is not going to be able to understand. Is it's very good. It's going to be very difficult for this guy to allow a woman to take charge, and this woman is ready to take charge. She's like, listen, I'll decide where we eat this evening. I'll
Right.
decide what colors we're going to have here, and what car we'll buy, and what you're going to wear, and this and that. So then there are clashes. So I often say, I don't even know if this is politically, or it's correct or not, but I often tell girls who are looking for a match, or who want to get married, I tell them, listen, you are very strong-headed. Look for someone who you are a man in a woman's body.
Mhm.
Look for someone who is a woman in a man's body.
Mhm.
Not literally someone who's whose biology as a man is totally perfect, but he's okay with a
Emotion.
woman who is okay with a woman taking charge, who
Right.
doesn't have that problem and who doesn't feel insecure. I said, look for someone like that because otherwise you'll clash. So all that is also important. That how is this woman feeling? How is she going to
In
behave,
a
or
relationship.
yeah, how does she process things? Because that depends on her ascendant and her moon sign, her sun sign, and a lot of other things. Her kendra, basically. You also have to see. From your chart, I know you are a woman. You have a feminine side that is more active, and that shows on your personality.
Mhm.
You're not someone who's slapping people around, or who's although you would be doing all you would be taking care of so many other chores that a man would do for you, but you still have more a feminine side. I think the balance is right when in your chart.
Thank God.
But yeah, thank God. But you would have seen so many charts. You would have known so many women around you, or for that matter, men.
Mm.
What side of theirs is more powerful?
Right.
So, and these things generally you would only kind of find out on the chart. And even when you tell them that this, listen, you are very bossy, they're like, no, 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 I'm not bossy. I'm absolutely fine. It's okay. I want the man to lead and take care of me. While they're saying that, when the man actually wants to do it, they can't process it because they're not aligned with the charts.
Yeah, well, that brings us to a subject, and I'll make it short because we've been talking for a long time, and it's been really fascinating, exciting, and also very enjoyable. Thank you. Um, it's I forgot what I was going to say. Goodness, what was I going to say? Um,
So you were talking about that brings us to a topic where that we could talk about some other time. I don't know, maybe you said something like that.
yeah. No, no, no. So this brings, yeah, now I remember. So this brings me to the fact is that I think at this time, present time, with what's going on Earth, it's so important for each of us to take responsibility to work things that are not balanced in us. Because I feel like people who become defensive. Like when you say to someone, they can say, oh, yeah, but maybe, if someone is like, yeah, maybe I can focus, find out what can I do to, balance, my male with my female or to bring out my goddess. The people who are more defensive, which basically means more insecure, but let's not label it, it's like they're going to have a harder time because if you don't change, if you don't evolve, if you don't take responsibility to heal the stuff, from your childhood, whatever. It's like I was telling my brother the other day, I'm like, you know what? You are a man now. Like, whatever you didn't get as a child, whatever happened in your childhood, it's your responsibility to fix it. They did the best
Yeah,
they could, or maybe they were wrong. But regardless, put out that all that aside. It is now
yeah,
your time. Take responsibility. If you didn't get enough love, give it to yourself. I mean, basically, it's self-love, it's your self-love that attracts a bigger love that comes to you. So,
absolutely.
on the last note, Abhijit, anything you got to share with us? We should do this maybe once every few months. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, just shout out if, and I'm ready to, share my insights or my experience with so many charts that I've seen. And the thing that I want to tell people around and, your viewers or friends around, and I keep telling people, listen, we are here. There are astrologers available. and it doesn't cost a fortune to visit one. Ask them if this is the right path. It can save you a lot of alimony money, and it can
Art
save you a lot
is,
of mental trauma, heartaches, so many other things.
yeah,
And Delano,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're so good with that. So Firozeh is here. Just ask her. She's the love guru. And
Thank you.
she'll tell you what's working, what's not.
For a long time, I was just doing it for me and my friends, and initially Western astrology, and then we've been studying Vedic, and I have my beauty business, but I really felt a strong. I had to like push myself, um, because I feel like right now is the time. So many people need help, and it's all about relationships. And I mean, what we're doing is not just relationship in love. We're also
Yeah,
doing relationships with, I don't know, if you had a mother that didn't give you enough, how can you work that out? Or your father, or even if you want to go into a business, it's so important to look and see who you're getting in bed with as far as your business.
exactly, exactly. There are so many things. So relationships per se are for your relationship with anyone against you.
Yeah,
um, or in opposite you. So it could be your business partner, or some other family member, or girlfriend, boyfriend, business. There's so many things in place.
yeah,
And planet synastry is important. And obviously, if there is a long-term chemistry between you, if the Rahu Ketu nodes, what's the soul connection? Sun, Moon, Venus,
yeah.
Ascendant, all these synastries. It's a magical world, and it's difficult to like pinpoint in one videos. Maybe we can talk about other things later, like
Next
nakshatra
time. Yeah,
compatibilities and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Abhijit.
Most welcome,
All
Firozeh.
right. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Thanks. Yeah.